Hello everyone, welcome back at my videos. Last video was pretty long time ago, and I promised you that I come back with some more of the English phrases and English idiomatic language and metaphors and figurative language and whatever they use, as we were speaking that English is not really easy language. And I just really was thinking what else I'm going to tell you about this. And I just found out a really interesting article from one linguist. I don't want to actually really like copy and paste it or whatever, but I just really found interesting ideas which are more or less the same as what I think about the English language after my studies and whatever I do with the English language, from translation, proofreading, teaching it and studying it for years. And I have to say that there are five of the most difficult features of the English language, and there are some practical tips also how to overcome it and how to actually make it less difficult or make it easier for everyone to improve and to be better in the English language and in speaking and everything. It's quite complicated, because I don't like people who tell me that English is not really difficult language and it's easy to learn. No language in the world is easy to learn, and no language, I think. And for some people it's much more easier to actually learn some language which is closer in a language group or in the language family to the mother tongue, to the native language, and for some not. It is really highly individual. For some people have no problem to learn any language of the planet, and some people have a problem to learn even very neighboring language for the mother tongue. So the first of all, what I want to say about the English language, that it's quite complex, and English is specifically very complex in the spelling system. It's one of the most challenging aspects of the English language, and the spelling system is very, very complex, very irregular, unpredictable. You know that when you come across to some new term or new word, then you basically sometimes don't know what will be the pronunciation of it. Sometimes you think that it will be a little bit more like French, sometimes a little bit more like Spanish or Latin, and sometimes it's completely upside down, and the pronunciation is not logical at all. It's quite illogical, and there is always actually a very different correspondence between the word and the noun sound of this word, how it sounds, so what is the pronunciation. And there is a sometimes tricky combination of the vowels and consonants, and very differently they pronounce in the groups of consonants or consonants and vowels, or just vowels, in different terms and expressions. So it's absolutely irregular, I would say. Like, it's not even anything regular like in French or in German, where you know exactly that this actually group of the language is pronounced this way or this pronounced this way. It doesn't happen in English. You know that E is sometimes pronounced A or E or I in very different actually expressions and terms. So this is the problem. For instance, you have the different sounds like ow, for instance, found, and it's the same like loud, flower, hour, sour. But then the same actually vowels O and U together in different language will be for instance, and that was poor, coarse, court, gourd, maun. Sound double O, U in U is the same like tour, group, or coop. So these sounds and how they pronounce it is so complicated that if you just want to study the spelling system, which I don't usually teach to people because it's really theoretically quite complicated and not really important when you want to be fast in learning and improving English, then it's better to just listen and just repeat and somehow visually and with the sounds to get it somehow. Yeah, I always say to people, because if we really start with the spelling system, then we are going to be stuck for half a year with the spelling system, because that's pretty difficult. So yeah, I don't want to even go deeper into that because there are a lot of rhyming couplets, then diphthongs, and this, and there are a lot of actually expressions and terms how to name it and how to call it, and it's pretty difficult. So whatever spelling system difficult, you have to always learn how to pronounce the new sound in the new word or in the new term or expression which you are going to actually learn. So yeah, tear, I, dear, su. So you've got actually so many different, the same written vowels or consonants together in a group, and the pronunciation is completely different. So what can be the tip how to overcome this? Like listen and repeating, listening and reading a lot. So a lot of reading, a lot of listening together. The perfect way, I think, is watching the movies and you don't understand, but read the subtitles together, how they pronounce it, so you can really actually get it from the hearing and with subtitles, because it's better, because you then actually can connect written language with sound. Write and get feedback, a lot of writing online, whatever, WhatsApp, that way, but you need some kind of basics, I would say. I don't like when people start completely like in the middle of something and they want to write something and then they just take it from Google and they don't understand anything, how they write and what they write. So this is really difficult. The next aspect, I would say, is the tenses. Tenses are complicated. It's again complex. For me, very logical, much more than my mother tongue. But for some people, it's completely Greek village. So it's quite frustrating. It's quite frustrating, I would say, for some people, and they are frustrated, because it's quite challenging to get all the tenses. There are around 12, 14, when we calculate also conditionals or whatever, there are almost 15 or even more, so it's quite complicated. And they've got actually different names. I don't want to go deeper now into that because I've got other videos about that. Present perfect, past perfect. They've got these present perfect, past perfect, which are very specific, I would say, tenses. In many languages, we don't have this. So for instance, I have been traveling for 2 months, where you get actually something from the past, but you actually move towards the future, and that's why you've got that present perfect continuous tense there, and so on and so on. Very complicated, I would say, for many people. But when you get deeper into the system, I don't think so it's a big deal, because when you go step by step and you learn all the languages, then it's fine. I don't think so it's a big deal. Anyway, yeah, the tenses are complicated. How to help is practicing, using them actively and getting the feedback. Again, when you are watching movies or any actually videos on YouTube with subtitles, it helps, because then you know exactly how they talk and what they say, how they say, in which tense they say what they want to say. But of course, you have to use sometimes maybe translator, or maybe to understand it in the context, but subtitles help, of course. Then using visual aids when possible, so this visualization of this, but and timelines, that you understand that what's going on in the future, in the present, or in the past. But it doesn't always help. I think the situations and situations and dialogues and in the plot of the movie, it helps a lot. So I think that could be the way. Then context and sort of polysemy, which is funny word, but yeah, polysemy means actually something like I don't even know to explain it, but it's expression that is ambiguous, out of context. So sometimes they, like many other languages, they use something in multiple contexts and multiple meanings, many different meanings. So the context is very, very important in English, because sometimes the meaning, especially slang words, which what I mentioned last video, or metaphors or parallels, it's very important, because sometimes you really can get one term in different contexts, completely different meanings. So for instance, it's a really good shit in a slang, American slang, it means something positive. And shit means something negative in a different context, in this basic context. So it's very, very sometimes difficult, especially, I would say, slang words. And it really depends if you are in US, Australia, Canada, or Great Britain, because there are different, terms and expressions, how they use it and which context. So pretty hard. This is quite difficult, and this context is very important. It's contextual language. English language is one of the most contextual languages on the planet. Like, without context, you can't even translate. What I always say, don't tell me like, I don't know, they tell me sometimes just a term or expression and what it is, and I say, tell me the context. I don't know. It can mean 10 things, 11 things. I think that people who really speak English, I think you understand perfectly what I'm talking about. I don't know. The whole thing tires me. Tired. Tire, it's also the verb, but tired is like basic verb is adjective, and it means that I'm tired of this. But tire is also actually verb. But tire as the main noun meaning means tire, the wheel, and on the wheel we have a tire of the car. So you see tire, absolutely, it means that when you don't know the context, you can't translate, basically. My car has 4 tires, but the whole thing tires me. I'm tired of this. So this is just an example, but there are many, many things like this. Game. Game can refer to noun and many different actually meaning. Game as a play and for playing, but game means also wild animals hunted for sport or food. Game in the forests or in the wild. That means the game. Yes, again, a lot of meanings. How to help? Always learn in context. So you have to know sometimes the context. Not to, for instance, like typical physical nouns like spoon, screen, table, computer. Of course, that's one meaning, and that's okay. There are many words, especially adjectives and verbs, which means a lot of things. And be curious and search for multiple meanings. It means that yes, you have to be curious, and sometimes don't actually be complacent with something what you already know, and that you just take it like this. I know. No, sometimes you don't know the other meaning. For instance, just the word now in the context of some very short phrases in the dialogue doesn't mean now, in this moment, now, what is the basic meaning. It sometimes means already, or sometimes means just well, or something. So it is also very difficult. Like, you don't take it for granted that you know what it means now. Of course, it means basic word, but it can mean something else as well. So be curious, yeah? Search for multiple meanings. Then, number 4 is phrasal verbs, which I already mentioned many times in my videos, and I did a lot of videos specifically for different phrasal verbs. It's a combination of a word and adverb, or a verb and a preposition, or even a word and adverb and preposition sometimes get along with. For instance, it has 3 actually words, and when they are put together, they create completely different meanings and completely different sense. Put up with something. Put up. The meaning is sometimes very original. It has nothing to do with the basic meaning of this first verb, like put. It's completely something else. So you have to really learn how they use it. So the meaning of the original verb often differs quite a lot from the phrasal verb. You can build with it what I have just said. Put is something else, like put up with, or put off, or put on, or put up. It's really this. I think it's very specific in English language, that many languages, I don't know, like 7,000 languages, or how many we have, but of course, like many languages don't have this, so it's much easier for them to get this. How to help? Learning context. The same. You have to know the context, otherwise you never actually get right the meaning of this language. Watch movies, everyday language, everyday speaking, TV, record the sentences. You have to really understand it in context. Focus on phrasal verbs that are interesting and useful for you. Exactly, like you will never get even in 1 year, you will never get all the phrasal verbs. It's impossible. You have to really go through some, I don't know, list of phrasal verbs which you like or which you are interested in or which are interesting for you, or just take some kind of area, for instance, at the airport or in the shop or at the business or in the politics, and then so you can actually tackle it in a very different actually way, how to get it, how to understand the phrasal verbs step by step. And size of the English lexicon, this is number 5, and I would say yes. A lot of people think that when I'm reading about a lot of languages like German or French or Slovak or Czech, that that's so colorful and they have got such a huge vocabulary. It's a very rich language. I think we can say it about every language. We can say it about every language. I'm persuaded about Arabic. I'm persuaded 100% about Hebrew, or I'm persuaded 100% about Japanese. I think every native speaker, and especially linguistic native speaker or linguist, in that language would tell you that our language is beautiful and rich. English is amazingly rich. People just don't know it, or they don't read books. I mean, if they are non-native speakers, to get so rich vocab. The size of the English lexicon, that is the total vocabulary of the language, is huge and constantly growing, and there are many reasons for this. This is a sentence, I'm just reading it, and it's very true. You know why it's huge and constantly growing? Because this language is actually number 1. It's lingua franca of the world. So all the areas, all the fields, everything what is possible actually to publish in English, especially on internet, they use the new words. They actually expand in vocab. So of course it's getting first in the English language. It contains a huge variety of words borrowed from other languages. We know that English is number 1 in borrowing and taking it from other languages. Latin, Greek, Germanic languages, Scandinavian languages. On the top of that, English has reached the status of a global language, and so it's constantly assimilating new words from other languages, thanks in no small part of the rise of the internet, which I have said just. Let's focus on different forms that English nouns and verbs can have coming from Greek, Latin, and German. Yes, I'm not going deeper into this. I think everyone has some kind of idea about that English language took a lot of words from other languages. Pork, it's Latin, it's from pig. Beef is Latin, and it comes from the cow, which is Germanic. So, in every other language has this. So it's not only English, but this phenomenon appears a lot in English language. So I don't know, meaningful means important, and meaningful is more Germanic origin, and Latinate origin is important. So there is a huge list, and when you go deeper into the lexicon, you can find the etymology and the history of the word, and you know exactly. I have such a lexicon or thesaurus, which there is always the word when the word actually appeared in the English language. So sometimes it appeared in 1655 and sometimes in 1838. So some words and expressions are much later introduced into the language. We know that Shakespeare just introduced and invented 200,000 or 200, a lot of words, just Shakespeare. How to actually improve having a huge vocabulary is focus on the vocabulary that is most important to you in your studies, in your area, in your field of work, or in your area. Use, communicate this vocabulary, what is interesting and what is important for you to know. Read extensively and intensively. So it means that read anything from different areas, but very intensively. So go deeper and extensive, that you go actually and expand in a vocabulary. So the combination of these two techniques done daily can do wonders to improve and quickly expand your vocab to the realm of less common words. You can read more about intensive, extensive reading a lot. So concluding it, this video is quite long, but anyway, it's complex system, but it's possible to actually improve. I just gave you these 5 aspects which are really difficult, and if you want to be better and better, you have to actually expand in vocab, in phrasal verbs, in in a spelling system, maybe how to spell better, how to be better in pronunciation, how to actually understand the grammar better through the tenses, how to understand the prepositions, articles, accents, academic writing, anything. I mean, English is like any other language. It's just such a lingua franca, and it's number one of the world. So that's why it's such a I would say, basic thing. It's such a basic thing to understand how you can improve in the English language. So that's just what I found very quickly on the internet. You can read it any time. I just think that these 5 aspects are quite important. Thank you very much. See you next time.